Hello and welcome. You're watching a video about creating a one-point perspective, and this is the room that we are drawing the perspective of. You're seeing what was already created to draw the grid itself, to how to know how to draw this perspective. This video now is going to be showing you our view of what we're going to identify as the south wall perspective. So when we take a look at our north symbol and establish that this is south, this is the way we're looking, and this is what the grid is showing us. We've established that we're 5 feet up off the floor and 4 feet over from the west wall, as you can see here. The other detail is that we have an 8-foot high ceiling, and therefore we have 8 feet up on the back wall plane. This back wall plane in a one-point perspective is great because you can start to scale, and if the object, which we'll be drawing in a little bit here, if the object is square to the back wall, you can take your line to the VP. If it is parallel to the back wall, then you can go ahead and you can use your bar. But to plot out items that are at an angle or round, that takes a little bit of a different plan to work that. And what we're going to do is establish these items. None of them block them others. They do block the windows, and we do need to draw those in, and I'll talk about what those sill heights are. You could draw those first and then draw the items in front. You can do in layers. So what I may do is just to do something simple here is to go ahead and just at least plot them out so we can see where they are. And when we take a look at the scenario here, this is just what I translated here. It gave us our directions of what we were doing, and it says that the window sill heights are 24 inches up off the ground, and that the windows themselves are 5 feet high, and then the thickness for both the interior and exterior walls are 6 inches. So those are some things to do. Also, we need to consider this door opening, and it says here that that opening would be 7 feet up off the ground. So I'll try to show these if I can bring them back in the view. If not, that might be something you want to screenshot that so you have that information, or rewind the video and mark that down yourself. So let's go ahead and let's just start with something simple here, and we'll plot out this pass through. And it says that it's 7 feet 0 inches above finished floor to the top of the opening. So what we'll do is let's establish how far back it is from that back wall plane, because this is a scale drawing. For a moment here, I'm just going to go ahead and pull that up. So what we would do is identify what this distance here, and it looks like it is 1 foot away. Another thing that we could do is to go ahead and use the grid and establish that it's 1 foot as well. Looks like I need to move this up a little bit. Let me go ahead and draw that line in there. That one looks like that one's a little bit off. So we'll make sure that that is our 1 foot mark. Let's make sure we know that was the one. All right. Okay, so we've got 1 foot away from that back wall. Right, and then we'll have those again from there. So this is 1 foot away from the wall. So we'd go ahead and do 1 foot away. And it said that we were on these directions, it said we were 7 feet up off the floor. So we could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Or I could have counted on the back wall plane, measured it, and then taken the point here from the VP out, and it would have given me that. So let's go ahead and we'll start drawing the side of that doorway. So we would draw that at the 7 feet. Now you'll notice then for the wall, again, is perpendicular to that back wall plane. So what we'll do is we're going to measure how wide that doorway is, which is 3 feet. So you would come out to your 3 feet. Again, we know then that it's going to stop at the 7 foot mark. And to draw this line, all we have to do is connect this point and this point back to the VP, which was what that was there already, but I'm gonna draw it so that I complete my shape and my view. Okay, so we have that there. Now it says that the wall thickness is 6 inches thick. So what I can do is I can go back to this back wall plane, measure along the floor line, and again, I'm on the back wall plane, so I can use the scale, and I'll come over 6 inches, which is a little tricky because it lines up with that mark there, but I'll go ahead and just do a little bit more of a circle. So what we do for that is we take the VP and we have it so that it goes through the middle there, through the middle there, and that right now is what I'm establishing to be this inside. To give it this thickness view, it's level with the floor, right? At the doorway, we hope it's square. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I bring my bar in place and I go from what this inside corner was here, and because I'm using the bar, I take it until it hits that 6 inch mark along the bottom. Okay? So right now I planned the 1 foot away, then the 3 foot opening. Took the line up so that there's 7 feet, clarified that that worked right because it went back to the VP. I'm now establishing what the thickness is for my wall, and in our directions it said this wall is 6 inches thick. To identify what the thickness was, my back wall plane stopped here. So I had to take and measure 6 inches along the back floor line, right? So we had that floor line back there. That kept going. I just measured what 6 inches over. Now it's a little difficult to see because it lines up with this, so I just did a little bit more of a bubble, and because I can't do another X or you won't be able to see it. So then I took the VP, connected the line from it, and drew this line using the VP because again, this goes back to your VP. We use that method. It came to hit this point, which we established at 6. And then all I have to do is carry my line up. And I've just drawn in this inside part of the door and this bottom part here. I'll do it in a more contrasting ink in just a minute. Then we have this line here that's up at the top too. So again, because that should be level with the floor, we are going to use our bar. And at this point then I have, no pun intended, I have a point. All I need to do is match it up to the VP, and that's how I'm going to know how this line is going to go. So I'm taking the VP, I'm going to the point that I figured out from the horizontal bar move to bring that over, and that's the inside of my doorway. So what I'm going to do for our video is I'm going to go ahead and darken that a bit. Now your furniture that you draw may cover over some of that, but I think it's good to draw the whole thing and then just go ahead and do it in layers. But I want you to see what we're doing here with the door. Okay, so then we have, it's perpendicular to the floor. So we rested on the bar. And then these points here, we use the side wall plane 7 feet off, and then back to the VP. And then we have this as well, the VP out here. And that's how we draw that doorway, right? So we have it come across here, and then it continues on out this way. This is our back corner, like so. And then we take it from the VP from this corner, and that's that side wall. I'll draw the other here so you can see that as well. Right. It's fun to kind of lift the sheet up sometimes to see it, but if I keep doing that, my chances are that I'll be pretty inaccurate. Now, the other thing though that it does give me the ability to do is, because this is all permanent ink now, I can just go ahead and I can mark this. So if you get brave enough to do a little bit with that permanent, you can now see how that doorway is. So that's how you establish that doorway. And I think what I'll do for this this video is let's focus on the windows, and then I can do it as a separate video to talk a little bit more about the furniture pieces. Okay. Now it says here for the windows, and maybe we should just go ahead and make a notation here to break down the information. It says that the sill, which means to the bottom of the window, is 24 inches high, and the opening itself then is 5 feet 0 inches up above the floor. So we're 2 feet for the sill height above the floor, and then the opening itself is 5. So with that all together, we should be seeing 7 feet up off the ground, so you could see how that would line up with your door. That's usually how they would place it in. So let's work on the windows as our next part. So we take a look here, and we will set the height, but I first need to know how far over this is. Again, you can count your grid or you can just measure. I'd like to show it in the video to measure over. So here's 2 feet 6 inches. Because you can kind of guess where your box is, but just to be most accurate, I think I'm just going to mark it at 2 foot 6 down there. And then the opening itself looks like it is 2 feet 6 inches. And again, I'm on the back wall plane, so I can measure. Once I get off of that, I can't. So let's use it while we still can. So we got 2 foot 6. So I just marked from here to here. Then the next window is going to be 3 foot 10 inches away from that. So we'll measure this down here at 3 foot 10. So that's the side of the next window. And then it shows that we have a 2 foot 6 inch window there. So again, I'm going to go 2 foot 6, like so. And now I've just plotted out the widths, but I have to figure out the heights. So it said that I had a 2 foot sill height. So here's 1 foot, 2 foot. And I can pretty much see where I'm going to be. So I'm just going to draw a line that maybe is bigger than what I need, but I can always erase it out. And then we'll establish, okay, if it's the 2 foot sill off the floor, it's a 5 foot opening. So let's go ahead, and again, we're on the back wall plane, so we can measure that. I'm going to take this and go up to the 5 foot mark. And again, I can do it as a generality and then just trim it up. That tends to be the faster method than trying to figure out exactly where it stops and starts. You'll get that. Look, I'm way over, but I can easily erase it out. All right, so here's what we'll do with that now. I know where the sides of my windows were, so I'm going to just connect the lines. You really only want to draw the lines when you're going up and plotting it out. Only draw the lines where you need to. I'm not going to draw it back here because I might get confused, and I already know where things clearly stop and start. Okay. Come on down. Oops, I should have done that a little more. Then we come here, and this is your vertical line. We have this here, and we have that as well. Now what I'll do is I will take my eraser shield. I have my eraser. I need to find my eraser shield. Well, let's take a look. The eraser shield, but I can't seem to find it, so let's go ahead and take a look in my magic bag here. All right. Okay, so now what we've got, making sure you can still see that okay. I'm going to erase out what I don't need. There we go. Do the same thing here. This up a little bit more. So the next part of this is that we have to think about the depth of the window. And if we think about the depth of the window, we would take the VP, because the thickness of the window is square to the wall, so it's perpendicular, therefore it goes back to the VP. So I would take from this front corner here and go back to the VP, but if I draw it, I don't know where it stops. So here's what we have to do again. If you imagine that this is about a foot, you can eye a foot back as well. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and at least give myself one of the lines and go back to the VP like so. I'm just gonna use one of those foot lines there to figure out about where a foot is back. I know that it kept getting a little smaller, so I think what I'll do is I'm gonna do that about maybe just a little bit smaller there than this distance, because again, it keeps getting smaller. So some of it's just a little bit theoretical. Now I'll go ahead and draw that line, and I went beyond the back wall plane here, but it's because if this was my back wall plane, I've got to go back a little bit further. So there is my 6-inch thickness for the wall. What I need to do is go with my VP to that foot mark over here to the VP. I'm drawing a line, and where it hits here on the floor, that's where I will come in to draw the inside of that one. This one goes back, and if I drew it, I'll just draw it real light. See how it goes behind it? So we don't need that one. This one here is pretty much right on the same line as that, but when I look at this one, and if you're doing this along with me, we see a little bit, but not too much. So in fact, it doesn't look like we see a whole lot with that one. Gosh, it seems like we'd have to see something. Let's just double check this here. If I go back, oh no, you're right. I have to, okay, that's right. I didn't do that like I did over there. Okay, so I've got to take the VP to here. Seemed like we should have seen something. There we go. That's what I did there. I needed to do that there as well. So now I'm gonna take my pencil and line it up. It's not a whole lot, but you do see some of it. This one, better make sure we're doing it right on that one too. I assume that we didn't have to, but that was just the thickness. Yeah, there's not a whole lot you see with that one, but let's draw it just in case. Yeah, see, it's very minimal. I would probably just leave it out. Now, we don't know how to draw this line yet. If we weren't using the VP. So again, we have to use the VP, and I'm going to go from this point back to the VP because the thickness of that wall is parallel with the floor and therefore perpendicular, and also perpendicular to the back wall. So I'm taking from the VP to this inside. It hits this mark. Where that mark is tells me what the rest of the sill is over on this side. Now I can share information, right? Because the wall is, in fact, the same thickness all the way across. So I'm going to use the line I just established. I'm going to come across here, and where that intersects to figure out what this looked like here, I can simply take the front, go back to the VP. Yep, it works. Do the same thing here for the VP to that corner of this up here, like so. I will bring the line over, and I'm going to share it between the two windows, make my life a little easier. And now I will know what this would be to this corner. Right? So in theory, yep, I would just look at this, and you can see that it matches up from, I drew it to this one, but I could have made sure by taking it from the corner back to the VP to see what that line was. So now you can see that 3D effect. Another thing in these particular directions was to go ahead and add 3-inch size of some casing and trim. So we could just do a quick little ditty on that too. We do want to make sure it looks like it has some thickness. If I'm here, I could guesstimate, and if I was like out here, I'd have to, but since I'm on that back wall plane, I'm going to go ahead and now remember, I don't have to worry about this at all here anymore. I can just go back on this bottom line, and I'm going to mark it at 3 inches to that mark, And then down here, I had the mark here. I'm gonna go ahead and do 3 inches there. And then what will happen is I can bring that thickness there, and yep. Just don't see very much, I guess, because of the angle. You just have to trust the method. Oh, that seems awfully. Oh no, nope, nope, nope. There it is. Oh, I gotta go this side of it. Okay, let's make sure. Let's say it shouldn't look that small. Let's make sure we're down here. Yeah, let's make sure that goes over more. That should be better. So I'll go ahead and use my eraser shield again to clean that up. There it is. So let's just clean that guy up. All right, and then we'll brush away using a brush rather than our hand, just so we don't smear the drawing. All right, and then I'm going to go over to this mark here where I plotted it down, and there we go. Then we could plan the 3 inches again. I can measure because I'm on the back wall plane, and I'm just going on the baseline up along the front here. I measured 3 inches over, and then I did 3 inches over here as well. To identify what the height is, I have to go to the, if I was out farther, I have to go to the sidewall, but again, in this case, I can measure coming down. I guess I could have measured down there too, but yeah, it's 2 different ways to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna do this across and this across. I could have also gone to the 2 feet and down 3 inches. So when we start drawing some other things out farther in another video, then I'll show you why that's important. But I guess really in theory, we can just measure it because we're still on the back wall plane. Right here, so we can draw that. So we're on the back wall plane. And then what would happen is you could go ahead and give it some thickness from this point back. It's not going to be particularly thick, so I'm not going to plot things coming out. I mean, I didn't even plot it to be along the sidewall because it's got such a small depth to it that I'm just pretty much planning it to be level. But if I just do something along these lines, I just want you to see how it gives just a little bit of depth with that. And then what you could do is if you do your windows, let's say they're like double hung, you'd go along that front face like so, and you would draw your line and have it go across there. And then maybe we'll do them like a casement that swings down low. Right, so we would do something like that. Then the top for the thickness would go back to the VP until it hits that back wall. It's pretty minimal, so there's not a whole lot of depth you're gonna see, but let's just do it just the same. And again, this would go back to the VP from the front, like so. And those are our windows. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll do something like this where I'll just do a couple lines to insinuate glass. So let's go ahead and I'm going to do a finished version where I take this and do it in a permanent ink, so that's easier for you to see in the video, right, with the back wall plane. When I'm looking at the room, there really aren't any other structural elements to take a look at. So I'm just going to go ahead and just bring it out here from the VP. Okay. I'll go out to the VP because once I take that off there, you're not going to be able to see it. Now the next thing that can happen then is I can go ahead and start putting in the furniture. But for right now, just so you can see it quite well, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to take it off too many times because it may get a little bit distorted, but I think I could take off one side and at least show you how it looks. I'm just taking off the dots here a little bit, but you can see now that's how the wall looks, and that's how you work through. The only thing I'd like to do at this point then is go ahead and get rid of this. And if for some reason, like I say, to complete our view, if we had to draw it with the furniture, that might be good to do in a permanent ink as well. When I do it, I'm going to do another sheet over top of it, but just so you can get an idea of that wall. So, pretty exciting. You can see the VP back in there. Looks like I touched it to make sure it was going through the middle. All right, thanks for watching.